You would turn with me to Mark chapter 13. If you've been following along in our reading this week, reading Acts chapter 25 and Mark 13, so I thought we'd just pull tonight's lesson from there. Mark 13. And as he came out of the temple, one of his disciples said to him, "Look, teacher, what wonderful stones and what wonderful buildings." And Jesus said to him, "Do you see these great buildings? There will not be left there one stone upon another that will not be thrown down." This is the start of a particular passage that and the parallel passages in the other synoptic gospels that have been used through the ages by dispensationalists and premillennialist types, and they come up with all kinds of theories and concoctions and whatnot. And my attitude to this in the past has been, well, okay, this is in the Bible. This is something I should learn, I should know. And the idea was, I'm going to learn this enough to be able to refute these folks and then maybe open up a discussion about baptism or the nature of the church or something I'm a little bit more comfortable with. And while there's nothing wrong with learning to refute false doctrines, it didn't do justice to what we can learn from this. And so I'd like to share 3 lessons that we can take from here. The first is that we worship a God that is above human affairs, but uses human affairs for his will. And in class this evening, we mentioned Josephus. Josephus is a historian who was kind of connected to the events around 70 AD and the destruction of the temple. And it's interesting, if you read his work, it confirms what was prophesied beforehand that would happen. And we see here God using human events, using human will to project his will. And there's an interesting study that the church historian Eusebius actually says that the early church saw these passages, read them, saw what was happening, and said, aha, they left Jerusalem, and then so they weren't affected by what was going on. So there's a lesson there, a side lesson there about learning these things. The second lesson goes around what God's will was. What was happening here was a punishment. We worship a God of mercy, but a God of judgment. And this was a judgment against the people in Jerusalem for the rejection of God, just like he did before with the Assyrians, with the Babylonians, and others. So as we reflect on this, let's reflect on the kind of God that we worship. The third and final one. Let's go back and read this passage. And he says, and he came out of the temple. One of the disciples said to him, "Look, teacher, what wonderful stones and what wonderful buildings." And Jesus said to him, "Do you see these great buildings? There will not be left here one stone upon the other that will not be thrown down." If you put yourself back into the mindset of these disciples, this is probably the biggest building that they've seen, at least until they go out, maybe when they're apostles and they're traveling around. But through their life at this point, right, this is it. This is the center of their nation. This is where they all go. This is the spiritual center of their nation. Jerusalem's the political center of their nation. They're amazed by this. They're impressed by this, the physical size of these things. And what does Jesus tell them? Like, this is nothing. Jesus tells them, hey, look, you want to see something? Kill me, and in 3 days, I'll be raised from the dead. And Jesus does that, and he does something even more wonderful. He defeats sin and death. And so the third lesson for us is, what are we wowed about? What are our great buildings? Are we impressed with the nation that we're currently residing in, with its economic strength, military strength, political strength? That will go away, as all nations will. Are we impressed about our health, our ability to function? That will go away. Our wealth? That will go away. Whatever it is that we can trust in that is not God is temporary and will go away. And what we should do is fix ourselves on Jesus and trust in him. I leave you with that. Focus on those things, meditate on those things. If you're in any way subject to the invitation, I encourage you to come forward as together we stand and as we sing.